I'm Lee from Just One More Fix, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network. Just like the show you're listening to now, the opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
I am the Green Arrow.
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner. I am the Oracle, and this is your Tribune.
Welcome back to Earth 2's favorite newspaper, the Starling Tribune. I am the chief editor, SP, and your other award-winning reporter for this episode number 201 of the Starling Tribune is Michelle.
Can we please go back in time and murder whoever invented stockings?
I've never had the opportunity to wear stockings, but I have run cross-country in tights. So does that count?
No.
All right.
There's a certain horror to having to put on stockings because they're thin and sometimes they're like too tight, and then you have to rotate, and then if you get something just a little snag, they'll rip, and then they sometimes don't fit right, and then they shift throughout the day. It's no, not the same.
So why do women still wear them?
Because of the oppressive patriarchal society that we live in and the horrible beauty standards that we feel pressured to live up to.
All right, we might talk about that later on in the show. Let's continue for right now, though. This podcast is recorded on Sunday, June 24th, 2018, live via Geeks.live. Today, we'll be discussing Legends of Tomorrow, as well as news, interviews, articles, and announcements that have dropped in the past week that could impact future episodes of Legends, as well as The Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, Vixen, Constantine, and the rest of the DC universe, including our winter holiday major motion picture treat this year, Aquaman.
If you're new to the show, thank you for searching us out on the internet and joining us. After the show, you can check out our content at GonnaGeek.com, where you can also find other geeky videos, podcasts, and articles.
Woohoo! We have made it through the intro without Chris. By the way, Chris has just had a scheduling glitch and will not be joining us tonight, but he should be back next episode. So, Michelle, let's go ahead and break down the current episode.
This is Helen Hunt, Season 3, Episode 6. It originally aired November 14, 2017, directed by David Geddes. He's a cinematographer turned director and has directed 4 episodes of Legends. Written by Kido Shimizu, who's done 9 Legends, 11 Arrow, 1 Flash, and 7 of The Cape. That's right. If you worked on The Cape, I'm bringing it up. And Huba Muhammad, whose credits include 1 Arrow, 2 Legends, 8 Old, and 2 of The Whispers.
All right. Yes, The Cape. I did not have the opportunity to see The Cape, but since you did, you suffered through it, you can talk about anybody that worked on it on your own. That is fine with me. So this episode of Helen Hunt actually aired in November of 2017, as Michelle alluded to. And that same week, it was a full flush of shows on the CW network in regards to superhero. And we're going to start on Monday, November 13th, with the Supergirl episode. It was the 6th episode of the 3rd season, and it was titled Midval. And it earned a total rating of 2.95. On Tuesday, it must be Tuesday in the CW network if Legends of Tomorrow is on, at least in November 2017. The Flash aired their episode When Harry Met Harry, which was the 6th episode of the 4th season, to a total rating of 4.29. This episode of Legends of Tomorrow, which was the 6th episode of the 3rd season, titled Helen Hunt, earned a total rating of 2.59, and Arrow, with their 6th episode of the 6th season, earned a total rating of 2.20 with the episode titled Promises Kept. Now, I would like to point out, this was shortly before the crossover event, so these shows were firing on all cylinders back then, and we were all looking forward to the crossover. And Michelle, you remember these shows? You remember the ratings being that high back then?
Well, this is total. So this is live plus DVR because we get to, look back on things. And what gets me is Arrow, even with the DVR factored in, is still only 2.2 million. And I mean, Flash averages 1.5 to 2 million bump. When you do the live plus 3 plus DVR, it gets a huge bump. As you can see here, it's 4.29. But Arrow's the flagship. It's 2.2.
I would argue that the Arrow is not the flagship. The Flash is the flagship. But this episode was with Slade Wilson. I would have anticipated this specific episode to be a lot higher than 2.2 with total ratings. Now, this is the live and DVR ratings. It does not include the streaming ratings from like the CW app or the CW website. So we're all assuming they get an even additional bump on top of that.
They have to.
I mean, I've watched it on the CW app before and it's free. So anybody can watch it there. You just need a connection and you get the last 5 weeks worth of episodes. So I think it's all good. All right, Michelle, we often talk about the episode in terms of the theme of the episode, which is often tied to the title of the episode, in which case this is Helen Hunt. So what's with this episode?
Well, Helen of Troy gets displaced in time and the team has to go find her. So it's Helen Hunt. It's the hunt for Helen of Troy. And it's kind of funny because there's also a real actress name of Helen Hunt.
Yeah, Twister.
So
Mad About You. Yeah, that's a great stuff.
So this episode, unfortunately, is not all about her. I know. Instead, it takes place in 1937 Hollywood studio backlot. Helen ends up there. She's mistaken as an actress, ends up replacing Hedy Lamarr, who's taking too long in makeup. And because she's Helen of Troy, the woman who launched 1,000 ships, she has this effect on men. They start fighting over her and studios, want to fight over her. And I just thought it was a fun little way to like go back to Hollywood. They even did the logo, like Legends of Tomorrow, Helen Hunt, in like the old Hollywood style. I thought it was a really fun way to like do this episode.
Right, they were talking about Tinseltown. It was called Tinseltown back then. Nobody calls it Tinseltown anymore. All the land of wood of the Hollies. Yep, it was fun going back there, and I think they did a pretty good job of depicting the era with the limited amount of sets that they have. They brought in the old cars. They had the costume department probably working, I would say, overtime, but since they time travel, it's probably as much as they always work. And it was very interesting. And I will say that I was very intrigued about the inclusion of Hedy Lamarr in this episode. Now, Hedy Lamarr, for those that don't know, was an actress, a real live actress in Tinseltown, but she also worked in World War II as a provider of technology. So she did have a couple of patents regarding frequency hopping and the RF part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And she really was a foundational basis for a lot of the things that we do today. Matter of fact, one might say we couldn't do this podcast without Hedy Lamarr being the person that she was.
Exactly. If you love your Wi-Fi, you need to thank Miss Lamarr. And I really liked how they showed how important she is. A lot of people do not know how important Hedy Lamarr's work is to our modern society, and the fact that Gideon just couldn't function because Hedy was taken off that certain career path, because her path as an actress led her to meeting certain individuals and gave her the freedom to develop her technology. So it was a really interesting way to have a fun episode and then teach everybody about this wonderful woman, brilliant woman, who Marty has not only a crush on, but has a hall pass for. Now, SP, you are the one who's married. So for those of people who don't understand when married people say hall pass, What is a hall pass?
You're asking me hall pass. Okay. So the concept behind a hall pass is that you talk to your spouse about being able to go out romantically with another person, and you're giving a hall pass, meaning it's not going to affect your relationship, your marriage, your marital contract, if you will, by going out with this person. And oftentimes you're given hall passes to go out with one famous person. I mean, you talk about it with your spouse and you're like, oh, who would you go out with? Chris Hemsworth. Who'd you go out with? I don't know. Helen Hunt, just for example's sake right here. And you would be able to go out romantically. If that person showed up at your door, you'd be free to do whatever you wanted to with that person. And in real life, it never happened. So the fun part about this episode is that it actually is happening to Marty. I mean, this half of the season with Marty was Martin Stein was just magical. And I'm glad I'm getting to relive it and really enjoying Martin Stein's episodes in 2017 with Legends of Tomorrow. The writers went all out to include his character to the maximum. It was fun to watch, including his fixation on Hedy Lamarr, who was dead by the time he had gotten the hall pass, so he had never expected to actually use it. And there they are in Tinseltown, and there's Hedy, so there you go. The one issue, though, is not in his body.
If you're going to do a Freaky Friday episode, this is the way to do it. Ray is helping them break up Firestorm because Marty has a grandson and is wanting to return to normal life. And Ray's device, of course, blows up because it's Ray. And having Jax inside Marty and Marty inside Jax and seeing those two actors, you can tell they have worked together for a very long time because they were able to really portray being inhabited by the other.
Yeah, it was fun watching both Jax and Stein just be each other, and it was kind of funny watching everybody else trying to deal with it. And the captain, Sarah, she's like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Just do it.
Yeah, it's Tuesday, whatever.
Yeah. You guys, I'm telling you to do one thing together, so I don't care who's doing it, but you guys go ahead and do it. So I was a bit surprised, though, that Martin Stein walking out as Jax went out on his own and they allowed him to go on his own. I mean, I think somebody should have been along with him to, use the buddy system, as our favorite villain pointed out. So, yeah, other than that, it was great watching those two interact back and forth. And then, of course, the one thing that they said not to do from the beginning of this body swap of, oh no, let's not form Firestorm, it would be a catastrophic nuclear explosion, is the one thing that turns them back to each other. So go figure.
Well, Hedy had a good suggestion. She went that it's probably a quantum entanglement. And so they have to form, as she called it, the nuclear man. And not only did the nuclear... Yes. And not only did we get, Firestein, because Marty was the one, the outer body. Normally he's inside Jax, and we see Jax as the physical form of Firestorm. So we basically got, Firestein. And it was important because he's the only one that could defeat Nora in really like the one big fight. I mean, we had that one fight at the gala where, all the men are fighting over Helen Hunt. And it's really interesting how Martin was not taken by her. He was fixated on Hedy Lamarr because that's him. That's how strong his crush is. But that final fight where we get the team against Nora and Damien Dark, because Damien Dark wants to be a Hollywood agent. And I love that line where he was like, I have the killer instinct for it. It's like, yeah, he does.
Does indeed. Yeah, I think it 50%, right? 50%. Yes. I think if he would have enough of a killer instinct, he would get more than 15%. But okay, I guess he was leveling it out there, probably as a throwback to his own agent. You're only getting 15%, no matter how good you are.
Exactly. But it was a great fight because we had all these different things. We had earlier, Dark had told Sarah, hey, I'll give you a deal. You just drop all of this and walk away and we'll all be cool. I won't kill you and I'll do my thing and you'll live and that'll be that. But of course, Sarah isn't going to do that. And she challenges Dark to a duel league style. And so we got a really cool sword fight.
Yeah, I was watching the fight choreography of that sword fight, and it was definitely done by stunt people. You could definitely tell. And there were a few quick cuts in there, but it did portray the magnitude of the situation. You're talking about two League of Assassin trained individuals, so it's going to be an epic sword fight. And that's in the midst of everybody else trying to posture to make sure that this is a quote unquote fair fight, or in Nora's case, not make it a fair fight. So it was a good use of all the characters around there. And I think it depicted where you were in this part of the season, as well as the two being actually League of Assassins people. And it was really funny, to me anyway, when Sarah threw the challenge back to Dark of, oh, you don't need magic to kill me. Isn't that the same thing that Oliver said to you when he killed you? And of course, Damien, I don't think he's been around to see his own death. I know he knows about it. He might have seen it on TV, but he has not experienced it in this version of Damien Dark on a one-to-one basis, but it still irks him that Oliver Queen killed him. So yeah, it gets him going and he's ready to fight.
And it was interesting when Sarah all of a sudden starts, getting a magic attack. She's like, no magic. And Damien's like, I promised I wouldn't use my magic, but I didn't say anything about her. And it's like, something about daughters don't want to see their daddies die twice. And then it's revealed, like Sarah finally realizes that, oh, that is Damien's daughter, all grown up.
It is revealed. Yeah, we had not one reveal, but two reveals in this episode.
Yeah, because the other big fight at the end of the episode was with Amaya and Kawasa. And it's interesting. Ray recognizes the name Kawasa and almost tells Amaya, but then he's like, wait, timeline stuff. And he changes his mind. But
I was watching his face, right? I was watching his face after he said, oh, Kawasa. And the actor he's doing such a great job. He's just sitting there. He's like, oh, should I say, you could tell he's very pensive. And he doesn't say anything to the main group after the fact that the name Kawasa came out. And he does pull, what's her name? Not Zari, but Amaya. He does pull Amaya aside as they are trying to walk away from that meeting. And he's trying to tell her, just be careful, because he's teetering on it, but he doesn't tell her. And then after it's all done, he tells Amaya, and Amaya's like, yeah, I've already got it figured out and everything, and I'm not mad at you and everything. He's like, because he's such a Ray is such a Boy Scout. It's just, you'd tell he could play Superman again if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's true. Because Amaya was starting to lecture Kawasa about, you can't do this. So how can you be a totem bearer? You're disgracing this. And Kawasa is like, from the standpoint of you failed to protect the village. You ended up giving this to your daughter and it fell to my younger sister and all this type of stuff. There's a lot of weird, emotions going through Kawasa. And then Amaya realizing that, maybe I should be actually helping her. And then Kawasa gets stabbed by Helen.
Using Sarah's knife that Amaya had given her before. Yeah. And Amaya's like, oh no, don't go. We stabbed you, but don't go. Okay. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want Kawasa around because she could fill your lungs up really quick, and that would be a terrible way to die.
True, but Amaya just learned that that's her granddaughter, and she realizes I've been treating my family like this. Perhaps that wasn't the right approach. But you have Helen, who had just seen Sarah, Amaya, and Zari kick the butt of a lot of guys, to help her escape. And she was just like, wow, they're warrior women. And then she felt defenseless when she was going to be left alone in the Wave Rider. And then she was given that knife. And to her, she was protecting a warrior who helped her.
Right.
She is from that ancient Greece and such.
Right. She wasn't picking up on the idiosyncrasies of the relationship stuff. I don't blame Helen for what she did, but it was unfortunate because I think fences could have been mended a little bit better this early in the season. Of course, then you wouldn't have all the pluses and minuses that happened for the last part of the season. But yeah, it was a heart-wrenching scene once Amaya knew who Kwasa was and Kwasa left. So, and by the way, you did mention a great other fight scene, which was the ladies kicking butt among the Hollywood bodyguards, because that's basically what they were. They were the chief muscle of each studio, K&G and Warner Brothers. And yeah, the ladies had no problem disarming them, although they had an awful lot of bullets flying around, and like there was no bullet holes in the cars or the walls or anything. So I don't know if they knew they were shooting blanks. I'm just saying. Maybe
they mistakenly picked up the prop guns instead of the real guns because it is Hollywood.
I know they were standing like 10 feet apart from each other. They couldn't hit each other with automatic weapons, Tommy guns. I mean, come on.
It's a superhero show.
It is, but they also were from Hollywood. So yeah, you're right. They were probably shooting blanks and just didn't realize it.
Well, how do we feel about Sarah this episode as a captain? I mean, I think she did a very good job. I thought it was interesting at the beginning of the episode because Nate is obsessed with finding, all the acronyms and such. And Sarah doesn't like the fact that Nate has been in the library for like 6 days or something, and he stinks and he needs a shower. And she's like, I am determined not to lose perspective like Rip did.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think, well, you got to go back to our poor Boy of Steel, and he wasn't really treated well in this season. It wasn't treated bad, but he wasn't given the ultimate role, and it was really hard from time to time differentiating himself from Ray. So there's that. However, let's get past that because we're really talking about Captain Sarah Lance here. She did a really good job. This was one of her better jobs of being captain. However, I would say when I was watching this, like the second and the third time, and I was watching them around the center console where they're finding the anachronism and they're deciding to go to it, or she's ordering, we're going to go ahead and do this. They should have suspected it's a trap because these anachronisms are set in motion by them breaking time, yes, but they know that Damien Dark is around there screwing things around. So I wouldn't go into any anachronism without some sort of caution that, hey, we might run into Nora, we might run into Damien here. And they go in just thinking they can clean it up just like that. So I think a little risk mitigation would have been a little bit better on her, but she is trying to get everybody going again, and they did not have any idea. I'm just saying, you're in the middle of kind of a war. You might want to think in terms of what the other side is doing, and especially if you can't find them. So there's that, but also her decisions throughout, benching the guys when they're dealing with Helen Hunt. Yes, you have to do that, otherwise you're not going to get anything done. And then her knowing that the science stuff is just going to figure itself out, because she can't help with that at all anyway. She can just enable Stein and Jax to try to figure it out, and Ray to try to figure it out, but she can't help it all, so she's got to do other stuff. So I think she's really good in this episode, and if I was rating Captain Lance on a scale of 0 to 10, I'd go 8 or 9.
Yeah, I would agree with an 8. She has a plan. It's recon first, then they go undercover the gala. She gets sorry to spill the drink on Helen's dress. And it's a really good plan. She draws on the fact that, okay, I'm from the League, Damien's from the League. Maybe I can get him that way, get that angle going. Yeah, she did a good job. We had the whole Amaya and Kawasa storyline, but I want to talk about Zari in this because she ends up hacking history. That's the way she puts it.
Well, she's a computer hacker, so she's into hacking things. So yeah, she definitely does hack history. And the premise behind this is that Helen of Hunt is this individual that's causing all the strife in Troy for the war, and over years and years, and she is just disgusted with it, of seeing all the death around her that is caused by her, and she doesn't want it, but it's happening around her. So she doesn't want to go back in the end of things, and everybody else is like, well, we got to fix time, so of course you're going to go back. Helen talks to Zari about this, and Zari is like, okay. And then the next scene, you didn't see any lights go on in her head or anything, but the next scene, they're in the jump ship, and they're flying to drop Helen off, just her and Zari. And Zari has found a way to put Helen back in her time, but not in Troy, and in an area where the effects that were felt in Troy aren't going to be felt again. I thought this was a brilliant move because it pandered to everybody's love of a DC superhero named Wonder Woman, and Helen of Hunt gets put down in Themyscira, which is the island of the Amazons where Wonder Woman is from. And I thought that was awesome. Now, it was 1253 BC or whatever it was, but it was still there. Wow. Bravo, Zari. You did a great job there.
Yeah, Zari learns from the historical records that Helen ends up disappearing halfway through the war, and it doesn't impact the outcome of the war. And Zari's just like, well, you have to be in your proper time, and you don't like being around guys because they end up fighting. I found this island that is full of warrior women with no boys allowed. And Helen of Troy is very happy to become Helen of Themyscira.
Especially when she learns that it's an island full of warrior women. It's only women and no boys allowed. Yeah, it's the perfect place for her. It's great. So I hope that she has lived her life well there, and we'll see what happens with Helen in the future, because this is a time traveling show. We might or may not be running into Helen again.
That would be fun, though. It would be fun to get Helen of Themyscira as a warrior woman helping the legends out sometime next season. That would be amazing.
It would, because it's a continual resource that you could tap into because of the time travel involved.
Is there anything else about the episode you want to talk about?
Well, that I don't know how many times I can hear Nora Darling and not get mad at it, because Damien Dark delivers those lines just phenomenally. Nora Darling. Neil McDonough, by the way, is the actor who plays Damien. And we didn't get a lot of Gideon because of the whole Hedy Lamarr technology thing. The whole premise is that Hedy is not actually cast in the correct movies because Helen comes along and then she doesn't eventually become the great inventor that she is, because she just doesn't have the same opportunities in front of her. So most of Gideon shuts down, so we don't have a lot of Gideon. And okay, so that's kind of a minus, but we get Gideon back, so okay. So yeah, this is a fun episode, really fun episode. I really enjoyed it. Nothing bad happened to the team. Sarah, I guess, is in kind of a coma, but at the end, but in the grand scheme of things, everybody's safe on board the ship, and they're able to go to the next Tuesday, where we will find out what happens next.
If you've got to do a filler episode and you also want to do a Freaky Friday episode, this is how you do it.
It was totally fun. The Freaky Friday stuff. I'm kind of surprised they didn't get Lindsay Lohan to come on board just as a cameo or something, but that would have been fun.
I enjoyed this episode. This is Legends. It has a great season. It's fun. It knows what it is. We're going to keep saying this all all the time as we cover the season. Is every episode spectacular? No, but this is one of the fun ones. I enjoyed watching it again. It brought a smile to my face. I enjoyed it a lot.
As did I.
So next week, we are going to discuss Welcome to the Jungle. It's season 3, episode 7. It aired Tuesday, November 21st, 2017. The team trace a new acronym to the jungles of Vietnam. Rory and Nate bump into someone from Rory's past. It's directed by Marzi Almas and written by Ray Utarnichet and Tyrone Carter.
Live from the Starling Tribune main news desk on floor 52 of Starling Tribune Tower, it's the weekly news roundup with award-winning chief news anchor, Michelle Ely. And now, Michelle Ely.
Well, there's really not a lot of news about the Arrow show per se, but the Arrowverse overlord Greg Berlanti extended his contract through Warner Brothers through 2024, and it's worth $300 million.
I was thinking about this. You know, this is part of the issue to retain his services versus having a competitor snatch it up. And it might not be TV. It could be a streaming service like Amazon or Netflix or something like that. We've seen those moves happen in the past couple of years. Also, he's got the most shows on TV of anybody at the same time, like 19 or 20 shows or something like that. So Greg Berlanti, yes, it's a steep price to pay for him, but he seems to be working out. So maybe this is an economically good deal for Warner Brothers, which it's not just the CW. You're talking the other properties like CBS All Access, like CBS The Main Show, and so on and so forth. So yeah, what's the particulars of the deal, Michelle?
It's anything that they really, want him to do. It's a creative. It's kind of like how Shonda Rhimes with ABC. Shonda Rhimes would create something, ABC gets first look. It's one of those deals to where Warner Brothers is like, we want you to develop stuff for us, keep developing stuff for us. And it doesn't mean that everything Greg Berlanti does will last forever. This does not mean that our CW shows are safe. Things can still get canceled. But it means that whatever he wants to do next, they will look at it and they will support him in it.
Yeah, even the shows that are having trouble on CW, like Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow, they're still pulling in enough ratings to maintain their time slots on the network, in my opinion. And the Arrowverse portion of the Berlantiverse probably single-handedly saved the CW from either being bought out or going under or something like that, because they have successfully filled the time slots for years and years. You're talking Arrow just completed its 6 seasons, going on to its 7th season. The Flash came the year after. So, and then the more and the more shows, including Black Lightning and whatever else they have in store. So between that and Supernatural, yeah, Berlanti definitely saved CW.
Well, moving on to general DC news, we have a lot of casting shakeups going on. First up with The Flash, Kean Lonsdale is not coming back full time. He is supposed to make an appearance in the season premiere of Flash, so he's not coming back to Legends of Tomorrow. He is open to coming back. It's one of those, like, he leaves on good terms. He said on Twitter that a lot of things in his life has changed over the past year, that this was his decision. He wants to explore his music career, his other talents, and everything. So it's kind of like, with Willa Holland, that we will part on good terms. I'm open to come back sort of deal. So no more Kid Flash on a regular basis. I was really hoping he would become a permanent part of Legends, but not happening.
Yeah, me too. And I know Wally West is a favorite of all Flash fans out there, not just Barry Allen, but a lot of Flash fans like Wally West. So, and there are two running around in the comic book universe right now. So this is kind of a big hit to all of them, but we haven't lost them forever. And as we've seen with Roy, who's coming back as a show regular for Arrow in season 7, it's not a closed door. The character of Wally West, played by Linesdale, might be a future character. We'll see. He might just need a year off. We all get that way. Like, if I could take a year off from my job, I would. A lot of people take sabbaticals. A lot of people travel by a sailboat, travel the world sort of thing for a year or two. And in this case, he's young. He's got a lot of opportunity ahead of him. And maybe it just wasn't panning out for him for what he thinks the future is. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, The Flash, there's going to be a lot of promotions for season 5. We're going to see a lot more of Nora West Allen. The Flash is up Jessica Parker Kennedy, who plays Barry and Iris's time-displaced daughter, to a series regular in season 5.
Yes.
Also becoming regulars are Danielle Nicolette, who plays Cecile Horton, and elongated man actor Hartley Sawyer will also be a series regular. So we're getting more Ralph.
Yeah. So Cecile, it will be difficult to have the new child in the West family without Cecile around. So, I could see that. We saw a similar thing go on in Arrow with the Diggle family. So, yeah, I could definitely see that. And Ralph, I like the character. I don't dislike the character, but I don't think the show should focus on Ralph. That's just my 2 cents, but whatever. And then definitely Jessica Parker Kennedy. I've been looking forward to this for a while since we first saw her in the crossover. That is going to be awesome having her around. Didn't know she was going to be a season regular, so that means she's going to be around for the whole season. So that'll be interesting how the multiple speedster thing happens again on set.
What worries me about more Ralph is I'm afraid we're going to get less Caitlin and less Cisco. One of my major complaints about this season of Flash was Cisco and Caitlin being put on the sidelines, and we're not really getting Team Flash.
We did get a lot of Cisco with his relationship or failed relationship, whatever you want to say along the way. We did get a lot of Cisco character development. It wasn't Prime. It was all B story, but it was there. With Caitlin, it just wasn't there. I mean, I know she had that whole story with her, her underworld ties and stuff like that. But I'm completely right. Caitlin should be a focus and Ralph should not.
I'm crossing my fingers. Moving on to Supergirl, Jeremy Jordan, who plays Win Shot, is not going to be a regular on Supergirl season 4. This is another situation of he's not burning the bridges, but he wants to see what else is out there for him so he can focus on family and other things that's going on in his life. He will return in season 4. He would just be recurring. And I can see how he's coming back, considering how he leaves at the end of the season, season 3. I know how he can come back and just guest star every once in a while.
Yeah, so this could be an effect of the show moving from LA to Vancouver. I was thinking about the different possibilities. So it just could be that he's geographically separated from his circle, whatever that circle is, family, friends, career opportunities, whatever, and that he needs to base himself in LA closer to whatever that is versus Vancouver. So I could see this. It's unfortunate that he's leaving because he is a great portion of the cast. Now I've seen the entire season except for the last episode. Have not seen that one yet, so I don't know how he walks away. But I've enjoyed having him around, and he has had some significant character development over the 2 years. So I don't want to see him gone forever, and I would hope to see him back at some point too.
Well, someone who is not going to be coming back at season 4 at all is Mon-El. Chris Wood had a 2-year contract with Supergirl, and that's up, which I'm not exactly too upset about. Chris Wood, fine actor. Mon-El, I sometimes called him Mon Blah because I thought he was just kind of boring and didn't really do much for Kara in the show.
Yeah, I could see the ultimate plan for his character from the very beginning would only be a couple of years. So they obviously have, when you start a new show like they did with Supergirl, obviously in the Berlanti-verse, they did have a long plan of where they wanted to take Supergirl. Now you could break that plan at any point in time, but if you do have a plan of where you want to follow the storyline along the way and who you want her romantic relationships to be with, I could see that they would want her to move on because she's a strong, independent woman. And Chris Wood, by the way, Mon-El with the cape fighting, that was interesting. That was a lot of Doctor Strange things going on there.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird way to justify wearing a cape instead of just saying, hey, it looked cool. Anyway, other Supergirl news, Jesse Rath gets promoted to a series regular for season 4. So he is coming back as Brainiac 5, aka Brainy. It's going to be interesting to see him interact with other people in the DEO and Supergirl on a regular basis because he is a level 12 intellect in a level 1 world, according to him.
I like Jesse Rath. I've had the opportunity to talk to him, and he's a fun guy, and I'm glad to see his success. I know he's been in and out of a few series as time has progressed. I've followed him from basically his teen acting days. I know he's a bit older, but teen acting days with Defiance, and he's able to claw his way to where he is right now. So I hope he gets some recognition for his role as Brainy, and I will enjoy seeing him around for the next season.
Moving on to Legends news, Courtney Ford is going to be promoted to series regular for season 4. She plays Nora Dark. So spoiler alerts, Nora does end up living. We do have a spoiler alert at the beginning of the podcast. This is why. And what's interesting is that Courtney is the real life spouse of Brandon Routh.
Yeah, why not? Keep your family together and go to work together. You know, it's worked for a lot of people. Take a look at the American stars, right? But Brandon Routh, Superman, you can, hey, if that's your conditions on working in TVs to be close to your wife, congratulations. Because yes, he was a film star as Superman. So I often scratch my head over the actors that have associated themselves with this show. The Victor Garber with Martin Stein, and not Wentworth Miller, but his prison escape. Well, Wentworth Miller too, but his prison escape.
Dominic Purcell?
Yeah, Dominic Purcell. So it's great having that caliber of an actor on that show. And Brandon Routh, enjoyed him, and his wife, you can't deny it. She's actually doing a good job acting. So I don't know what next season is in store for the Nora Dark character, but we'll find out.
This isn't her first role. She's had other roles and everything. So she is a established actor in her own right.
Right.
But this explains the chemistry that Ray and Nora have in certain episodes that come up, because they are real life husband and wife. So it's interesting because I've seen real life spouses act in certain things and you can't really tell. But those two, they couldn't help it. The spark is there.
Yeah, it is. So like I said, if you need to work with your wife in order to spend more time with them, because let's face it, they are in Vancouver. They're not in LA, and they are working actors. And oftentimes the distance that you have to put between yourself and your family or your spouse is a detriment to the relationship. So being able to work together on the same show is a great opportunity.
Last bit of news is an interview with Matt Ryan on Constantine. It's Constantine, so I have to mention it. Matt Ryan had an interview with the Iris, and it's a good interview. I just wanted to bring out one thing. When asked about being surprised that he keeps returning to Constantine, Ryan said, "There's always an exciting element when you finish a job and you don't know what's on the horizon, because it could be anything, which is interesting. But I always was surprised at every turn and turn of the key with this role that I was playing him. At one point, I was like, God, it's 4 years ago now when we started Constantine's show for NBC, and here I am still playing the character," which I'm so happy about. And he's going to be part of Legends.
He does a great job. I never watched the show Constantine, but yeah, he does a great job as the character Constantine.
It's on the CW seed.
I know, like, what time do I have to watch it? No, I don't, so.
Okay, that's, I can see. But eventually.
I gotta prioritize series like The Expanse and Lost in Space above Constantine, sorry.
Whoa. The Expanse I can see, but Lost in Space? Really?
I just haven't seen it yet. I saw one episode with my son last week, and I'm like, okay, I'll go see it. It's only like 8 episodes, but I still don't have time to watch it, so I fit it in when I can.
Okay. Well, that's news. Going to move on to some feedback. We have feedback from Facebook. Anthony has been rewatching Arrow, just finished season 5, and Legends, about to start season 2 again. And Anthony's been listening to the podcasts that accompany each. So thank you very much, Anthony, for listening. And he ran across a meme that relates to the rating system for Captain, he puts that in quotes, Ripped Hunter in season 1. And it's the meme about Captain Crunch has been lying to us this whole time, because Captain Crunch outfit has 3 bars at the end of the sleeves. And in reality, the 3 bars means commander. You need 4 bars to be considered a captain. Captain Crunch is a commander.
Well, if you want to take your cereal box cartoons as authoritative in terms of military or naval rank, go ahead. But I'll just go by Captain, because I'm not going to, first of all, I can't eat cereal anyway because I can't have milk, but I'm not going to eat a cereal named Commander Crunch. No, it's got to be Captain Crunch. That's the way. And you have to say it that way too. Captain Crunch. It's not Captain Crunch. It's Captain Crunch. So yeah, I'll go with it, even though it is not the correct ranking.
Of course you would, SP. Of course you would.
So if you want to have discussions like we just had over Captain versus Commander, there's a lot of other geeky discussions like that we can have over on the Gonna Geek Network, including the Marvel Universe, the sister universe to the DC Universe as far as fans are concerned, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there's a podcast over on the GonnaGeek.com network called Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Recently, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. published episode number 243, which was about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., episode The End, which was the finale episode to the last season, the 5th season of, the 5th season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Director SP, Agent Haley, Agent Lorne, and Consultant Michelle discuss the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5 finale episode, The End. The agents discuss why The End was a kissing story, celebrate the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. renewal, mourn future fits, congratulate Director Mac, high five the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. creative team for the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. shout out, yay! Wonder what really happened to Deke, played by Jeff Ward, and look forward to the new TV series called House Hunters Tahiti. Once again, you can find that at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast found at GonnaGeek.com. And also, thank you very much to all the live listeners in the Geeks.live chat room today, and all the listeners who download and view the show later. And remind everybody that you can download our podcasts on Spotify, Spreaker, replay on YouTube, etc. And if you even have an Amazon device, you can enable our podcast as a skill. Just say a word, enable Starling Tribune. And remember, you can always catch us live as we record at www.geeks.live at 6 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Pacific on Sundays.
We would love to hear from you. We are the Starling Tribune on Facebook and Instagram, at Starling Tribune on Twitter, and you can call us at 612-888-CAVE. That's 612-888-2283. Well, this brings us to the end of another great episode. Any last words before we sign off? At Stargate Pioneer.
Hashtag Firestein.
And I am at Michelle Ely signing off with Helen of Themyscira. Oracle, I think we're done here.
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at gonnageek.com or check out our archive at starlingtribune.com. Visit gonnageek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the property of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.